September 25th, 1066, the River Derwent in Yorkshire. History is usually decided by armies, by generals looking at maps, by thousands of men moving in unison. But sometimes history condenses. Sometimes the fate of nations narrows down to a single point of choke. This is Stamford Bridge. And on this day, the entire English army has stopped, not because of terrain, not because of weather. They stopped because of him. We don't know his name. He carries no banner. He will receive no medal. But for 1 hour, this lone Viking warrior is the only thing standing between England and total annihilation. To understand the giant on the bridge, we have to understand the year 1066. It is perhaps the most volatile year in medieval history. A year where the throne of England is a vacant prize, attracting predators from every corner of the known world. In January, King Edward the Confessor dies childless. He leaves behind a power vacuum that threatens to suck the entire kingdom into chaos. 3 men step forward to claim the crown. The first is Harold Godwinson, the wealthiest nobleman in England, the man on the ground. He moves fast, seizing the crown the day after Edward is buried. He is a capable soldier and a smart politician, but his claim is contested. The second is Duke William of Normandy across the English Channel. He claims the throne was promised to him. He begins building a massive invasion fleet in France. And then there's the third man, the Wolf of the North, Harold Sigurdsson, known as Hardrada. Hard ruler, he is the king of Norway and perhaps the greatest warrior of his age. His life reads like a mythical saga. He had served as the commander of the Varangian Guard in Constantinople, protecting the Byzantine emperor. He had fought Saracens in the Mediterranean, cleared pirates from the Aegean Sea, and battled in Sicily and Bulgaria. He is 7 feet tall, filthy rich with plunder, and utterly ruthless. He doesn't just want England. He believes it is his birthright, a legacy left over from old Viking treaties. In the late summer of 1066, Hardrada makes his move. He doesn't come alone. He assembles a force that terrified the coastal villages of Britain, 300 longships, 10,000 hardened Viking warriors. But Hardrada has an ace up his sleeve, a traitor. Tostig Godwinson, the exiled brother of the new English King Harold. Tostig is bitter, vengeful, and knows the English defenses inside out. He guides the Viking armada not to the heavily defended south coast, but north to Yorkshire. In mid-September, the Viking horde lands. They march on the great northern city of York. The local English earls try to stop them at the Battle of Fulford on September 20th. It's a massacre. Hardrada's seasoned veterans, fresh off the boats, chew through the local militia. York surrenders. The north of England has fallen. Hardrada feels invincible. He has crushed the northern resistance in a single afternoon. He believes the new English king, Harold Godwinson, is hundreds of miles away in the south, paralyzed by the fear of the other invader, William of Normandy. Hardrada gets cocky. He decides to take his army out of the city of York to a more comfortable camping ground, a place with fresh water and meadows for their horses. He chooses a spot 7 miles east of York, a strategic crossing point over the River Derwent, a place called Stamford Bridge. Hardrada is so confident that the war is practically over that he makes a critical error, a fatal error. He splits his army. He leaves 1/3 of his forces and countless sets of heavy mail armor back at their ships miles away. On the morning of September 25th, the Vikings at Stamford Bridge are relaxing. They are expecting hostages from York to finalize the surrender. They are basking in the late summer sun, many wearing only tunics, their heavy chainmail shirts left back at the ships or piled in wagons. They are not an army ready for battle. They are an army ready for a victory feast. They have no idea that the impossible is marching toward them. King Harold Godwinson of England was indeed in the south, waiting for the Normans. But when news of the Viking invasion reached him, He did something unprecedented in medieval warfare. He moved his army fast. In 4 days, Harold Godwinson marched his elite housecarls, the professional corps of the English army, nearly 200 miles. Day and night they marched, gathering local militias as they went. It was a superhuman feat of logistics and endurance. On the morning of September 25th, the Viking sentries posted on the ridge above Stamford Bridge saw something in the distance. Not the hostages from York, they saw a cloud of dust. Then the shimmer of steel. A Viking chronicler later wrote that the approaching English army looked like a field of broken ice. So bright was the sun reflecting off their mail and helmets. Panic sweeps through the Viking camp. They are outnumbered. They are unarmored. Their king, Harold, advises a retreat back to the ships, but his pride wins out. He will stand and fight. He sends his fastest riders galloping back to the coast to summon the rest of the army and the armor, but they need time. Time they don't have. The English army hits the Viking vanguard on the west side of the river like a freight train. The Vikings on this side of the river are disorganized and exposed. The English housecarls, fueled by adrenaline and the rage of their forced march, butcher them. The Viking vanguard shatters, the survivors turning and fleeing in blind terror toward the only escape route, the bridge. The River Derwent is deep and swollen from recent rains. The bridge is narrow, a wooden structure, perhaps wide enough for 3 men to walk abreast, maybe 4 if they crowd. The English army is right behind the fleeing Vikings, ready to cross the bridge and annihilate Hardrada's main force on the east bank before they can form a shield wall. The entire invasion is about to end right here in a chaotic rout. And then the flow of men across the bridge stops. The English vanguard, bloodied axes in hand, steps onto the bridge planks. They see an open path to the Viking king, but then a shadow falls over them. Out of the chaos of the retreating Vikings, one man turns back. He is huge. Even for a Norseman, he is a giant. While his comrades fled, he stood his ground. He walks calmly to the center of the bridge, plants his feet, and raises a 2-handed Dane axe. The Battle of Stamford Bridge has just become a duel. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, the primary English source for this period, is usually sparse on details. It deals in facts. Kings died, armies moved. But for this moment, the chronicler pauses to specifically mention this one anonymous Norwegian. They call him simply a giant. Later Norse sagas give us a glimpse into what kind of warrior this might have been. They speak of the Berserkers, men who entered a trance-like fury in battle, the Berserker gang. They were said to be immune to pain, fighting with the ferocity of wild animals, howling and foaming at the mouth. Whether induced by psychology, ritual, or perhaps hallucinogenic mushrooms, a berserker in full fury was a terrifying weapon of psychological warfare. This man on the bridge is the embodiment of that terror. The first English soldiers rush him. They are confident. He is one man. They are an army. They die instantly. A Dane axe is a devastating weapon. It has a 6-foot haft and a broad, razor-sharp head. In the hands of a giant, it doesn't just cut. It obliterates. It can cleave through a chainmail helmet and the skull beneath it in a single blow. It can hook a shield and rip it away, leaving the defender helpless. The giant on the bridge is a master of his tool. He uses the narrowness of the bridge against them. The English cannot surround him. They have to come at him 2 or 3 at a time, bottling themselves up, robbing them of their numbers advantage. He hacks them down. The Chronicle states he killed 40 Englishmen. Let's pause on that number, 40. In medieval hand-to-hand combat, killing 1 trained soldier is an exhausting ordeal. Killing 5 is legendary. Killing 40, one after another, without rest, while dodging spears and swords. It borders on the superhuman. The fight stalls. The momentum of the entire English lightning strike crashes against this one unmovable object. The English soldiers, brave men who just marched 200 miles to defend their homes, begin to falter. Fear spreads through the ranks. They aren't fighting a man anymore. They are fighting a demon of the north. Every second the giant holds the bridge is a second Hardrada uses to form his battle line. Every swing of that axe buys the Viking army a chance at survival. The giant knows this. He isn't fighting to survive. He is fighting to die well. The English try everything. They throw spears. The giant deflects them with the shaft of his axe with contemptuous ease. They try rushing him in a coordinated group of 4 shields locked. The giant steps back, hooks the leaning shield with the beard of his axe, rips it down, and crushes the man's skull with the backspike of the weapon. The other 3 falter, and he cuts them down in rapid succession. The bridge is slick with blood. The river below runs red. The roar of the battle has distilled into the rhythmic, dreadful sound of one man's axe chopping wood and bone. He holds them for an hour, an eternity on a battlefield. King Harold Godwinson realizes he cannot break this man head-on without sacrificing dozens more of his best troops. The delay is becoming critical. He needs a solution, ugly as it may be. The English find a local, perhaps a miller who knows the river, who suggests a way around the monster, while the main force keeps the giant distracted with feints and shouts. A single brave English soldier paddles silently under the bridge in a small, flat-bottomed boat. It is an inglorious end for such a warrior. There is no final duel with a champion, no poetic exchange of words. The chroniclers say the English soldier thrust his spear upward through the gaps in the bridge decking. The spear finds its mark, striking deep into the unarmored groin or stomach of the Viking. The giant collapses onto his knees, then falls face forward onto the blood-soaked planks he held for so long. The English army lets out a roar of triumph and relief. The bottleneck is broken. The giant is dead. The English pour across the bridge like a dam breaking, trampling the body of the Berserker as they rush to engage Hardrada's main force. But the giant had done his job. Hardrada had formed his shield wall. The ensuing battle was ferocious. It lasted for hours. Hardrada, fighting like a madman in the front lines without his armor, was eventually killed by an arrow to the windpipe. Tostig, the traitor, was slain soon after. The Viking army was virtually annihilated. Of the 300 longships that arrived in England, only 24 were needed to carry the survivors back to Norway. It was the end of the Viking Age in England, drowned in blood by the River Derwent. King Harold Godwinson had won an incredible victory. He had marched across the country and crushed one of the greatest warriors in the world. But the story doesn't end here, because history is cruel. While Harold was fighting for his life at Stamford Bridge, the winds changed in the English Channel. 3 days after the battle, William of Normandy landed his invasion force on the defenseless south coast. Harold Godwinson had to turn his battered, exhausted, depleted army around and march another 250 miles south to face a fresh, armored Norman army. Less than 3 weeks later, on October 14th, Harold was defeated and killed at the Battle of Hastings. England fell to the Normans, which brings us back to the giant on the bridge. If he hadn't stood there, if the English had crossed immediately and routed Hardrada in minutes instead of hours, would things have been different? Would fewer English soldiers have died that day? Would Harold's army have been fresher, stronger, when they faced the Normans at Hastings? We will never know his name. He was an invader, a reaver, a killer. But beneath the history books, beneath the grand strategies of kings, war is fought by individuals. And sometimes, a single, nameless individual can grab the wheel of history and jerk it violently off course. He was the Viking who held a bridge against an empire. And in doing so, he may have doomed the very army that defeated him.